Hello, you're watching The Nation. I'm Pasha Rahim. Recently, the Prime Minister launched the National Education Blueprint 2026-2035. Now, this is a decade-long roadmap aimed at reshaping the Malaysian education landscape for the next 10 years or so. From the integration of generative AI to the deep-rooted concept of karamah insaniah, or human dignity, this blueprint promises a total transformation from an exam-oriented system to one that is values-driven. Now, to help us better understand this blueprint, joining me in studio today is Professor MADYA Dr. ZUWATI HASIM, Deputy Dean of Research, Faculty of Education, University of Malaya. Welcome, Doctor. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Pasha.
Right, so let's talk about this new blueprint, or rather a continuation from the previous blueprint 2013 to 2025. Now, from the academic perspective, as an educator and also as a researcher, what was your immediate reaction to the announcement of the National Education Blueprint for 2026-2035 that was launched by the Prime Minister recently? And also, perhaps you could enlighten us on what our current challenges are.
Okay. All right. When my first reaction, when I see the reports, the executive summary, and listen to the presentation, I was smiling actually, and I was quite positive looking at the map, National Education Blueprint, the new one, and because I can see that the focus is more on developing well-rounded students,
right.
And students with well-mannered, being knowledgeable, and be confident, resilient, and have good skills actually for them to move forward.
And speaking about the challenges that we're facing now, like if you're looking at our children today, what are some of the biggest challenges that you feel we need to address? And does this blueprint, does it help to solve, or does it help to address those challenges?
Okay, when we talk about challenges, there are actually various challenges, when it comes to the students. First thing first, what we need to see is to what extent that the students have actually achieved the learning curve that we plan for them. Especially like, for example, some students from my research actually, some students are grappling with reading, in fact. So to what extent we are going to tackle this issue along with the new roadmap. So this is rather challenging, I would say, because the ministry really needs to look into the matter. Because if the students do not have the basic skills, how do you expect that students can go or move forward with a plan?
Right, so we're looking at say, preschool or primary level, where our reading levels are not where it should be. Why do you think this is so? Because most of our 3, 4, 5-year-olds, they attend preschool before attending Darjah 1 at 7 years old. Why are we still having these issues of them not being able to read, or not being able to do simple math, for example?
I don't want to play the blaming game. It's just that from the education perspective, there are various reasons. Perhaps the ability of the students itself.
Okay.
And another is the approach that we use to teach the students. It might not suit certain students. It might work with another students. And another is that whether we provide the right resources for the students. And on top of that, we cannot rely on the teachers alone. Parents have to play a role in monitoring and further teaching the kids at home.
That comes to my next question. Now, the National Education Blueprint, it aims to transform our education system, into something that's more high quality. We want it to be inclusive. We want it to be dynamic, and we also want to produce globally competitive students, learners, and in the future workers. Let's talk about values, because that's one of the things that's one of the focuses of the National Education Blueprint. And the specific word that was used is karamah insaniah, or human dignity. The Prime Minister emphasized character building over rote learning, which is what we were used to. We just memorized stuff. From a pedagogical standpoint, how difficult is it to shift from a national curriculum that has been there for years from being an exam-oriented one to something that's more values-oriented? Because we've got to admit it to ourselves. We are a generation, of parents that came from that system. How are we going to shift effectively?
Okay, I would say it's a bit of a challenge, definitely, to change a mindset because we're coming from that, era.
Yeah.
However, I think the ministry has actually started with the approach of having a school-based assessment, in which at the beginning it was like, a no-no to most of the parents.
Yeah, if we don't have exams, how are we going to know if our students are doing well?
I think that's a transition from that, even though we are moving towards values-oriented, moving from exam-oriented system to values-oriented, I think there would still be a challenge. However, it's not going to be so difficult as compared to last time, changing totally from exam to school-based assessment. What we are going to see is that although we focus on values-oriented system, the exam is still there. Just to ensure everyone, the exam is still there. Under assessment, there is several types of method that we can assess the students. When we talk about values, definitely we can't test the students through exams, right? It should be through project work, group work, where teacher needs to observe the students. But with exam-oriented system, it's hard, for us to inculcate values or measure or evaluate to what extent that our kids have achieved, certain values-oriented skills.
The argument is then, who should be responsible to be teaching these values? Shouldn't it start at home? Why is our school system being burdened with teaching our children values?
I think I've already emphasized before this, before even this talk. Values should be taught from home. It comes from the parents. The moment you have a child, you should actually teach values. So it depends on the upbringing. When teachers see the kids at schools, they can differentiate what kind of upbringing this child is from.
Right. But I mean, putting that aside, I think what we also want to focus on is, making sure that education is accessible and that, there is, it's inclusive and also there is equity for everyone to be able to access education. Let's talk about the gap. We've come years post-pandemic, and obviously during the pandemic there was a huge learning loss that happened, and also a thing called learning poverty. Now, how well does this blueprint address this? And because academic experts have been highlighting this, especially post-pandemic, we're 3 years post-pandemic now. Is that problem being addressed?
Okay. In the blueprint, it lays out, equity and accessibility. I think what we need to understand is that when it comes to equity, it's not by giving everybody equally.
Right.
So the ministry needs to look at the schools that needs more supports and provide more supports for that particular schools. If, let's say, teachers needs help, then teachers from certain areas, for example, in rural areas, then the focus should be more on that. It's not, we are not saying that we are sidelining those in the urban area. It's just that we want to make sure everybody gets the education they are supposed to get. For example, in this blueprint, it was highlighted that AI integration. AI integration in the classroom. So to what extent AI integration could be implemented in the rural schools? Are we ready? Are the schools ready? Are the teachers ready? Are the kids ready?
Right. Speaking of AI, since you've already mentioned it, it from your research at UM, are our current teaching frameworks ready to integrate AI and you know, obviously we've been slowly integrating or using technology in the classroom as well. Do we need a total overhaul of how we teach and train our teachers? Because we've got to admit that also some teachers are a little bit more proactive, you know, they take initiative. Some teachers are like, this is above my pay grade.
Okay.
So how do we address that?
All right. I think at the university level, because UM is also providing or training teachers, especially for secondary schools, we constantly or gradually looking into our curriculum. Yeah, every 3 or 4 years we revise the curriculum to make sure that our teachers actually well equipped with the knowledge that they need. So actually AI integration we have actually include into our curriculum since last year. Yeah, it's like integrating into the current subjects. So our teachers, trainee teachers are trained to use AI. And the fact that AI is there, you know, to be used, and we can't actually ban the use of AI. Yeah, but the fact that we can make full benefit of it.
Right.
Yeah? It helps a lot actually. But I don't want the teachers or even the students to be over relying on the AI.
Right.
Yeah, because otherwise it will affect the thinking process.
Right.
Yeah.
So it needs to be utilized responsibly.
Yes.
There's also this other thing about the technological gap. You know, because if we are looking at schools or students who are in the urban areas, perhaps, you know, they have access to technology, gadgets, etc., compared to students who are in the rural areas. So now, not only are we talking about learning poverty, we are also looking at that technology gap. Throw in AI and all of that into the mix. Is there going to be a wider gap?
It depends, because in the blueprint it mentions about adaptability. To what extent the AI is made compulsory, we have to look into it. To what extent AI is made compulsory to be integrated in the lessons. Yeah? Perhaps there would be a situation where teachers are able to be creative and able to adapt. Perhaps not just use AI in the classroom, but the teachers can use AI in terms of preparing their lessons. Yeah, preparing the lessons and double check with you know, whatever activities that they plan to. Yeah.
All right. We are going to continue our conversation. We're going to be talking about STEM and also human sciences, but we will be taking a very quick break. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Welcome back. You're still with me, Pasha, on The Nation. We're speaking to Professor MADYA, Dr. ZUWATI HASIM, trying to unpack the recently announced National Educational Blueprint. Sorry. Let's continue on our conversation from earlier. Now, let's look at STEM and human sciences. Those two things are also being given focus. How should the higher education sector and also schools balance the Prime Minister's push for STEM and also AI? At the same time, you know, there's this need for critical thinking, more maybe emphasis put on the humanities. We've been a country that has been so focused on, you know, the sciences previously, and perhaps now is the right time for us to look beyond that. So how do we do this? How do we get this right?
All right. When we talk about STEM and humanities, yeah, I think we can't separate them. It has to come together where we can have check and balance, sort of. Yeah. When we talk about AI, for example, the use of technology, but humanities will do the thinking. You know, checking in how do we do this, you know, to what extent does it affect, you know, let's say we develop this technology, to what extent this technology will affect the human being, for example. So what I'm going to say here is that we need a balance of both. Yeah, we can't just focus on STEM and then ignoring humanities. What I'm saying is that we have to have both. going together.
Right, and initially that was the conversation when AI first came into the picture. Everyone's like, you know, is AI going to take over what humans do? And really, they cannot. It does add value, but at the end of the day, you know, we still need human values. Let's talk about teacher readiness, right? So the success of any blueprint, really, it lies with the teachers. They are the ones who will be running that machine. What do you think are some of the missing links, you know, when we're looking at current teacher professional development and this new blueprint, what needs to be fixed immediately?
Okay, what I see from my point of view is that teachers need clear direction. Yeah, we have a plan, yes, it's a very good plan, I would say, but to what extent we can realize the plan. Yeah, these teachers are on the ground, right? So they need a clear direction. How are they going to realize this particular plan? Yeah, and on top of that, it has to be a well-structured instruction for implementation. Yeah, we don't want you know, teachers not knowing what to do. Even they need supports from school leadership. And supports from the ministry as well. You know, if let's say they have issues with it, to where where are they supposed to refer to? You know, is there any particular training for these particular teachers? For these teachers, you know, going to do in the implementation.
Right.
Yeah?
So if you looked at the announcement, I think the Prime Minister also announced some amount of allocation for teachers or staff rooms to be upgraded or enhanced. Is that going to help with teacher morale? You know, is a nice teacher's room going to help with the blueprint?
It does actually, because you know, happy teachers means happy kids. Right.
Happy wife, happy life. Same concept.
Yeah. So we must understand that teaching is a profession.
Right.
It's a professional profession. So we need to respect teachers. Yeah. At the same time, we need to provide whatever is needed by them. So if they are emotional, you know, emotions and well-being, you know, being taken care of, I think that would be a good start.
Now, apart from that, you know, one of the things that teachers always also complain about is administrative work. Are we going to see that lessen? Are teachers going to now be able to focus on teaching?
Yeah. Okay, being a teacher, you can't run away from paperwork, especially when it comes to evaluating your students. Right. Yeah? But the main focus is teaching, evaluating, and reporting.
Right.
Right. So when we talk about additional programs, initiatives, so many programs being conducted in schools, those programs that taken up teachers' teaching time. Yeah. The planning usually comes from, you know, their time at home. Yeah, I was a teacher last time, so I know how it works. You know, we plan at home and then we go to school and teach, and evaluate. Every now and then, when we talk about having well-rounded students, teachers need to be aware of the students' development, every single student. So observation is very important in the classroom.
Right. Let's speak about the role of higher education, right? Because I think a lot of our conversation from earlier focused on primary and secondary schools. So as a representative from a premier university, how do you see the 2026-2035 blueprint reshaping the quality of students entering universities? We're talking, say, in the next 10 years.
If we are talking about moving from exam-oriented system to values-oriented system, I think I hope we could have a more balanced students, students with good character, not just memorizing, and students who can think on their own. This is what is lacking at the university at the moment. You know, and every time we give instructions, they will ask questions. Of course, for clarification is fine. But to do things, you know, they should be able to think on their own.
Right.
What more with the existing of AI? They rely totally on AI. Yeah, and the fact that at university level we are thinking of different questions, you know, to assess students and different method to assess students. So I hope with the new approach, we can see better quality students, those who can think on their own, those who have the autonomy to learn on their own as well.
Right, because there is a sort of disconnect between primary, secondary education and higher education, where we're so used to memorizing facts and just churning it out during exams, that when we step into higher education and when we come into university, and the way of learning is so different that I think our students just become a little bit, oh, what is this? What do I have to do? And then that's where there's a big challenge. So I think we're looking at a more seamless transition between primary, secondary education to higher education. Hopefully this is going to be addressed with the new National Education Blueprint. We're also looking at our students being a lot more globally competitive. Now we throw this word out a lot. We want our students to be more competitive globally. We want them to be, out there. We want them to be able to be at par with students who are overseas educated, for example. How does this Malaysian blueprint stand against, the education reforms that we are seeing? Even in our neighboring countries, we're talking about Singapore or Vietnam. Where do we stand?
So I think we, at the moment, we have to stop comparing with others. We try to we try to actually address the internal issues. What is lacking, what needs to be upgraded, and from once we have tackled all the issues, then we move on. Of course, it's good to compare. Having comparison, it's it's good to benchmark ourselves. Where do we stand? Where do we stand, and where are we going? A way forward.
Okay, so we shouldn't be comparing ourselves to our neighbors.
At the moment, perhaps we can try and tackle all the issues first. The prominent issues, especially when it comes to primary education. It's quite shocking when I see students at year 6, year 4 could not read. Could not read, could not do basic maths. So this will be a problem at the secondary school later on.
I mean, if you're saying we have students who still cannot read at the age of 10, that's the primary 6, then that is very, very worrying. However, Doctor, looking at the road ahead, if you were to give one piece of advice to the ministry on this, on making sure that this blueprint doesn't suffer from implementation failure, because at the end of the day, you can have a great blueprint. Everything looks amazing on paper, but it needs to be implemented effectively for us to really see the results of it. What would that advice be?
I would say because at the university level, we are always open to collaborations. We offer ideas, and then we welcome the ministry if they need helps. We welcome them to work together with us. And at the same time, we want to see that the plan goes as whatever laid, and then with that, they need to take action and really have close monitoring of the action. We want a good implementation so that we have a good results of it.
All right. So hopefully we've had a little bit more clarity on the National Education Blueprint. 10 years, one vision. The roadmap to 2035 is ambitious, but you never know, we may be able to achieve what is it that we have put in plan. Now, the conversation doesn't end here. It actually starts in our classrooms and also, more importantly, in our homes. Thank you so much, Dr. ZUWATI, for sharing those invaluable insights. This has been The Nation. I'm Pasha Rahim. See you next time.
Jadi academician lebih lama daripada jadi selebriti, Syah. Kita nak turunkan ilmu tu.
Apabila pelaku itu dikenakan tindakan terbuka, suara mangsa dapat diangkat, didengari dan dilindungi.
Itu dia hujah daripada pihak pencadang.
Apabila kita kata nak tangani buli, tapi kita pula membuka ruang kepada buli.
Lagi bawa lebih banyak jenis biji kopi yang berkualiti tinggi seperti kopi